I am ecstatic to bring to the screen another dynamic brother by the name of Isiah James. He's a community organizer, activist, Army combat veteran, and candidate for Brooklyn's 9th Congressional District. Brother Isiah, how are you today? Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. We've been trying to make this work for a while, so I'm glad to be here.
No, the pleasure is mine, man. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you on is because of your tenacity. You have not stopped your fight for justice, your fight to get into leadership, to take that fight for justice to the halls of power. Tell us a little bit about that fight and what you're working on right now, specifically as it pertains to justice and speaking truth to power.
Well, that fight is the most important one. It's the one we've been fighting, as Black people, as working people, as poor people since this country's been founded. It's the fight that it seems like every generation has to get in that fight. It's the fight that my father fought when he came here from Jamaica in the 70s. It's the fight that my grandmother fought when she left Pascagoula, Mississippi in the 60s after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. It's the fight my mother fought when she helped raise, with my father, 11 children, but no money, and they somehow made all of us productive citizens. That's the fight that we're fighting now. And it seems like it's getting more exacerbated because the gap between the rich and the poor is going more and more and more. So that's the fight, the generational fight. What I'm working on right now is getting this campaign off the ground for a second time. I mean, the first time we ran, we got punched in the face by coronavirus. And let me stop real quick, just to let everybody know. My wife is a public school teacher here in New York City. She's been working from home since the pandemic. I know people are going to ask, why all those sight words? My wife teaches first grade and kindergarten. And our living room where I'm sitting at right now is literally her virtual classroom. So if I give you the tour of the classroom, you got all words, and don't forget to put the cap up on the marker. And
Oh, man. So I thought you were literally in a classroom, like in a school building.
She did her best.
In the background, like, let me get this out the way.
Because people are going to be like, why is this stuff behind you? So let me get that out of the way and let y'all know. My wife is a public school teacher, so that's why it looks like that. But as I was saying, I'm trying to get this campaign off the ground. I mean, the times that we're living in now demand it. I mean, it's not time to hope and pray and wish anymore. We got to be audacious. We got to demand that our government does what it purports to do. I mean, what do we lose by fighting for people that are poor or working class or LGBTQ or Black or Native American or Indigenous or Hispanic? Like, we don't lose anything by standing up and fighting for those people. So we damn well better get in the fight.
I hear that. I want to read a tweet that you sent out the other day that I think contextualizes this. I got a couple of good ones here too. This one says, when we talk about lifting millions out of poverty, let us not forget, especially during Black History Month, that America still has not atoned for her original sin. And you said, and that we must continue to fight to make right the wrongs of the past. # reparations, # Black Lives Matter, # ADOS, never forget. And then there was a clip attached to it where you were on with my friend, the Humanist Report. I want to play that clip really quickly and then discuss in context about everything else. Let's take a look at that clip.
Somebody saying no.
Oh, we don't have that clip. Okay.
Oh, we
don't have that clip. We don't need the clip.
Say no. He heard you say no.
How did he say you say no? We don't need the video yet. Let me know when you have it. But talk about that, man, because even in your race, right? Like when you start talking about reparations, right? You some of these so-called well-meaning Democrats and liberals, they start being the first people to jump off the ship, right? And and looking at your fight for this position and fight for justice in general, like, how do you balance that? Because I know you get nonstop pushback when you're speaking about reparations so firmly like that.
Oh, of course I do, because people who empower automatically think that they're going to lose something because they know they took so much from so many and concentrated it in the hands of so few. You look at the word that I use in my tweet, atone. If you look up the word atone, it says to make amends, to repair, reparations. Reparations means to repair. If folks want to Google, they can go back and look up Field Order number 15, which was issued by General Tecumseh Sherman when he was fighting against the South during the Civil War, and it was to give those freed slaves 40 acres and a mule to till that land. Economists have done the math. If they were to pay Black descendants of slaves in this country, it would be over $70 trillion with interest. So reparations is not a check. It can't be a check because America doesn't, the GDP of the world can't pay every Black person a check. To me, what reparations means is America has to have some skin in the game and has to buttress her Black community, which it has disparaged for 400 years. That means more money for HBCUs. That means after school and job programs in that community. That means housing programs for folks who have been redlined and kept out of the economic ladders of opportunity of home owning. That means ending this damn disastrous war on drugs. That means legalizing marijuana and letting everybody out who has a nonviolent drug conviction and stripping their records of felonies. It means actually doing something to buttress the Black community, because every time Black people have tried to stand up for themselves in this country, you can look at Tulsa, you can look at the race riots. White America has pushed them down, and we're saying that it is far past time that America actually does what she says she purports to be, the land of equality and freedom, but it is not so. So we have seen for 400 years, we're told never forget the Holocaust, which we shouldn't. We're told never forget 9/11, which we shouldn't. We're told never forget December 7th when they attacked Pearl Harbor, which we shouldn't. Black people have been living a 400-year Holocaust in this country since the beginning, since 1619, when those 16 slaves landed in Jamestown, Virginia. And it seems like everybody has forgotten about that. When you have the crime bill, which took a generation of Black men and put them in jail and destroyed the nuclear family, now you see what the hell we're talking about. When you have the 1033 program, which allows military equipment to come into our communities and hold Black people siege and hostage, now you see what we're talking about. When you have over 2.5 million people sitting in goddamn for-profit prisons, now you understand what we are talking about. America is a homeless person with a Gucci belt on. She is not all she's cracked up to be. So it's up to us. Like I said, every generation has to get in this fight. We have to make right the wrongs, because I'll be damned if my children or my grandchildren are going to have to take up the same fight that my father fought 50 years ago when he came here and he couldn't even go to Queens because he had a funny accent to them out there.
This is, Isiah, listen, why would you come on here and drop all of that? Look, the show is over. The show is over. We don't have time for you to come and bring all of that on the show. That was a lot.
I gave you an answer.
Where am I about to look? Where do I sign up? Where is this? When is this vote happening? I don't even live in New York. This is a lot. Listen, okay? You said a lot of things.
FAMU. My sister went to FAMU Law.
Oh yeah, look. Don't start.
Hey man, hey, bro. Listen, Dwayne, thank you for coming and cut that man off. No,
there is Isiah. There is a clip that we want to definitely play if we have that up now, so we can discuss it before we do get out of here, because I know in this clip as well there are a lot of things for us to unpack. Dwayne,
it's an economic issue. It's a legal issue. It's an issue that I feel like everyone who's on the left, who's progressive, who's radical, should be on board with, no questions asked.
It's Black History Month, right? Every Black representative in Congress should have been beating the drums about reparations this month. You want to talk about Black history and our contribution to this country, to American history. Well, let's talk about making right the wrongs of the last 400 years. Let's talk about that. The White House that Joe Biden is now in, when it was burnt down by the British, it was rebuilt by Black slaves in this country. They rebuilt the seat of power in this damn country. And nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about making right the wrongs, making generations whole. Generational wealth wasn't just kept from us, it was stolen from us. Our language, our heritage, our culture, our religion, even our identity was taken from us. And then you leave us to fend for ourselves. You make everything we do a crime with the Black codes, first of all, with Jim Crow slavery, with the war on drugs, with the crime bill, and you don't see the harm that you have caused. We talk every year about 9/11, how we should never forget it. We talk about the Holocaust and how we should never forget it. Black people have had a 400-year Holocaust in this country, and it seems like everybody has forgotten it, except those of people like me or you who have time to think about it. And we have never been made whole from this. Communities were destroyed by Joseph R. Biden. That's why I wrote in Bernie Sanders. He gave us the crime bill, which was Ronald Reagan, was was Reagan's war on drugs and Nixon's war on drugs cranked up to 11. That's what made the mandatory minimums. That's what made the harsher sentences for crack. That's what literally took fathers out of homes and destroyed families, destroyed the nuclear family that Republicans love to talk about. The black people don't have a nuclear family. Well, why is that? Because a generation of men, an entire generation, were put in jail and left to rot like grapes on the vine. And America needs to atone for her sins. And we can do that with government if we have people in government who actually want to do that.
Whew. Isaiah, you can't be going on people's show and just shutting it down. The man was sitting there like, okay,
I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just talking the truth. I'm talking about Cornel West. I ain't had a haircut in a minute. I'm starting to look like Cornel West. And he's one of my personal heroes. And that man don't mince words. I mean, listen, I've been shot. I've been blown up by IEDs. I'm a 6'8" black man in America. What the hell are they going to do to me that hasn't already been done to me in my life? Yeah, I'm 6'8". What are they going to do or say to me that hasn't already been done or said to me? I have nothing to lose by advocating for people in my community, people who look like me. And even if you don't look like me, because guess what? The rich hedge fund managers don't give a damn if you're black or white. If you ain't got money, they don't care about you. They don't care about you. What did Martin Luther King Jr. say when he was marching down to Alabama in the garbage strike? The white cops came up to him and told him to move. He asked the white cops, how much you make? The white cops told him, he said, well, hell, y'all need to be over here with us, protesting for y'all for higher wages. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. And he absolutely did. So it don't matter. You pour in Brooklyn, you pour in Alabama, you pour in Georgia, you pour in Washington State, you pour in California, Tennessee, Kentucky, you pour all over. That's what this fight is about. It's about uniting working people and poor people so they understand that the system is not broken because it's working the exact way they designed it. You know, you can't have people during a pandemic where 40 million people are out of work, yet the billionaires added $1.5 trillion to their wealth. What the hell? That can't happen unless it's set up to happen like that. That's the only way that can happen, is that it's literally set up to happen like that. So the system's not broken. It's working the way it's designed. We need to dismantle the system that allowed our current system to flourish.
That's enough right there to say. That's enough right
Isaiah,
there in the show.
What district is that you're running in New York?
This is Shirley Chisholm's district, the 9th Congressional District. Nice. Shirley Chisholm used to hold this seat. And the fact that we have a black woman who's Jamaican, like me, in a district that is 50% black, but my grandmother always told me, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Just because you look like me, that don't mean you're immune from criticism because you ain't done a damn thing.
So the current person who holds that seat, you said, is Jamaican and black and not doing what you need to do?
Listen, by every measurable metric, black people in our district, poor people in our district, working people in our district are doing far worse. This coronavirus did not cause the problems we're seeing across this country, but it damn sure exposed the problems in our system and the inequities that are built into the American system. And it's going to, like I said, it's going to be up to us to tackle that, because guess what? The problems that you're facing aren't going to go away just because you sit down and are tired. I promise you that.
Yeah. No, you said a lot right there. I just wanted to clarify that she wasn't talking about Shirley Chisholm, because she also had a Caribbean background as well. Yeah.
But this is her seat. She literally represents.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's and there's a legacy there, and it needs to be represented by somebody who's going to represent the people and not the establishment and not the powerful. Isaiah, we got to get you back as you get closer to the race, and actually anytime that you want to come back, we'd love to have you on the show.
We want to help push that campaign, brother,
Absolutely.
because that's a big deal.
Matter of fact, drop the campaign website. Where can they come and support you?
They can go to Isiah for Congress, ISIAH for Congress.com. Same Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff. If you can donate $2 or $3, $5, $10, do that. If not, follow me on Twitter, share, tweet, help spread the message.
Absolutely. Isiah James, congressional candidate, strong black man, speaking truth to power. Thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.